Hello and welcome to another episode of the Super League. We're up to round 22 of a total of 26 before moving into the playoffs. I say it's a Super League. I could call it another round of clicking with the chairman. We'll have a look and see how it goes in this session. But I do feel as if there are slight improvements with regards to the stability, but they are they're not all there. So let's see how it goes. Anyway, firstly let's have a look at the results from last week. Um, Big win for RC Celtic at home to Hooligans, 3-0 for them, getting back into some kind of form. Obviously, so strong early on in the season, fell away, but maybe they're back into it now. We had Bolton Phoenix getting a 2-1 win away to Astor. They're top of the table now. Strong, yeah, strong performance from Bolton Phoenix. They're obviously last year's finalist, and they're doing very well at the moment. Ryan seemed confident that the squad can continue to press on, and he's obviously got key players in key positions, and yeah, it's looking pretty good for the Phoenix. Not looking so good for B-Tech. They had two men sent off in that defeat, 2-1 at home to Chudley Cannons. Two central defenders. We'll see how they cope without Rio Ferdinand and Alessandro Nesta tonight. Dragon Destroyers and Somerset Sloths in a 4-4 goal fest. Very, very entertaining there. The Dragons and Sloths game. That's perhaps why both sides are 9th and 10th, because putting things away, consistency, not putting putting games away rather than goals, putting games away, consistency, going from not conceding any to conceding many in the blink of an eye. Bit of a challenge for both sides. They've had their ups and downs this season. Dragons especially downs in the beginning, and it's been kind of okay since then, but they should have really have done a little bit better in this one, and held on to that win probably. With Robbie Keane and his guys and what they were doing. So let's see. As you can see here, this is a bit of an issue. Not able to click on any of these results. So there you go. But anyway, Midlothian beat Hoddesdon Hornets 1-0. Panathinaikos lost quite spectacularly at home to Swindon Devils with Patrick Kluivert in form. I will show you, but I can't. Ballon United lost a little bit surprising at home to Churchtown. So I mean, it's a top class, but Valon's still a strong side. We'll see how they bounce back. They're down to 5th now, which is not great for last year's finalists, obviously. Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say about it. We can have a look at the table. We've got the Bolton Phoenix at the top. We've got Churchtown equal on points with them, but they've obviously conceded a lot of goals. They were like quite free scoring early on this season. Has fallen away a little bit. I mean, they were at 3 goals a game. That should have put them on 63, so they're 9 behind that target. So it has dropped off a little bit, but I think Ruud van Nistelrooy is back this week, so that'll be interesting to see if they can pick up again. Midlothian needs to start finding some form. They've had a couple of poor results now. RC Celtic, as we mentioned, they are looking a lot better than they have done so far in the second half of the season. Valon United will be desperate to get back in the points again. They're drawing too many games. Clearly, they're up to 7 draws now, which is probably the highest in the league. They've only conceded 20, so defensively they're still okay, but the goals are just not flowing in the way that they have been for Valon. Chudley Cannons, new team in the top 6. They've been doing spectacularly well recently. A couple of great new signings in, and Andre obviously doing well in goals. Panathinaikos, who've struggled. They've had some quite strange result go against them all season. There hasn't really been sort of an indication of their performance, and they do have a better goal difference than several sides in the top 6. So just a few unfortunate results, a bunch of 1-0 defeats I think they've had, and just some unlucky games that didn't really go in their direction. We'll see what Chris has come up with for tonight. Then we've got Astor, obviously. Alf, very, very keen to get back into the top 6. Missed out on that when he failed to get a result in the last 3 games in a row, I think. And Dragons and Sloths obviously played out that 4-4. They can still, in theory, push for it, but it's kind of now or never. Same for Hooligans. It's results now, or it's another season outside of the top 6. Hornets. It's been too erratic, unfortunately, for the Hornets this season. They've not done that well in front of goal, which is a little bit surprising considering the players at their disposal, perhaps. But on the other hand, that's just how the cookie crumbles. Then we've got B-Tech, who looked as if they'd found some form. Then they got 2 players sent off and lost, and Swindon, who are their form side at the moment. A couple of great results for them, and Patrick Kluivert back on form. So we'll see how they go tonight. Either way, we'll carry on with the clicking. unfortunately a little bit apprehensive about changing the, the running order of the show. So I think we're just gonna go with whatever the game suggests. So first up, we've got BTEC Troopers against Panathinaikos FC, and yeah, if you'll just bear with me, then we'll have to see how this goes. Um, at this point in the season, there's no point in change, so we might as well address the elephant in the room while we're at it. There's no point in changing anything at this point in the season. We're so like near to the end, so although this is clearly an inconvenience, we will play through. But this will be the last season of the Super League in this format. Unfortunately, I can't continue with the save because it's a similar issue when I click through the weeks. But as mentioned, we're that close to the end now that I think it would be unfair to stop now, because clearly, as you can see, it's working once we get there. It's just that there are a bunch of facilities that aren't working anymore, and there are things that will crash the game. Fortunately, I know what they are now, so I won't press them, but the league will have to be reset, so just so that everyone's aware of that, and it's no secret to anyone. Let's get back to the action then. I was actually gonna bring this up at the end, but I thought might as well get it out of the way and pass some time while I click buttons so you can see why it is. And if you imagine having to do this maybe 15-20 times as we progress the week as well, on top of doing it in every game, the game is not stable, and I don't want to put any more effort into it in terms of like editing or anything like that. So it will be a fresh start for season 3. Ideas welcome. I'll try and well, my idea was to keep the squads the same, but I don't want the show to turn into a conversation about it. You guys can have a chat about it amongst yourselves, what you would like to see. We can even maybe have a little call or something like that and try and sort something out for next season. But so at least now you know. Panathinaikos have abandoned the well, I say they've abandoned the 271. I'm sure this is 271 in someone's universe. Jakarta Salihamidzic, I mean, it's familiar faces. I think Sand is the only new guy. Riquelme moving up in that AMC role. That's probably the main two changes. Nedved's still in the AMC role. He's obviously been the Panathinaikos, probably the best player that they've had this season. We'll see if that'll help them keep a clean sheet. I think he's probably a little bit concerned about that after conceding 3 to Swindon last time out. So we'll see how he responds tonight. Chris and his side here, Terry Henry up front. Good players in good positions, so it could definitely work out depending on the instructions, obviously. He's up against pretty much an unchanged BTEC side in terms of tactics anyway. Of course, they had 2 enforced changes at the back. Milevski and Cordoba come in and cover the defensive duties. Not bad replacements, you would suggest. And I mean, he does have a Dyer, Prutton, who's done okay previously this season. Akahau seems to be finding some form. Danielson chipped in with a couple of assists as well. So they could be going in the right direction, BTEC, but they're obviously up against a very, very similar formation tonight. And we'll see which side comes out the stronger of this encounter. Con Diomis, who's another strict referee, I believe, in charge of this one, so we could perhaps see some more red cards, although BTEC would probably not like that after what happened last week. Let's kick this one off and see how it goes in the first half. We've got a bunch of chances for Panathinaikos and Thierry Henry with the early goal. In case you're wondering, it isn't very fast. Yes, there are several downsides to the recent issues that we've had with the save, unfortunately. But it gives you a better chance of following the action, obviously. So I guess that's a good thing. Still mainly Panathinaikos in terms of keeping under pressure, but the BTEC Troopers have had a couple of counters. It will be interesting to see if they can hit one back before half time, and they can. It's Martin Palermo, who's been a little bit quiet so far this season in general, who brings up BTEC's first goal of the night and equalizes. Panathinaikos still fairly in charge of proceedings, you would think, in terms of possession and chances. Yeah, definitely slightly more in their favor. Good pass completion for both sides, but tackling maybe not gone as well as it could have done. Fairly few chances overall. I mean, 5 shots in total. It's not the most we've seen, but a fairly even and relatively okay first half in terms of entertainment for the neutrals. Very evenly spread out, a little bit more possession in terms of Panathinaikos. If you look at their individual players, Riquelme, he's not known for playing particularly well in the AMC role. I mean, Could an argument be made for Joe Cole in there perhaps instead? Although he is also disappointed a little bit after making an initial very, very good impression. Cannavaro's obviously doing a good job, dominating in the air as usual. Dida's not having a bad day in goal, which is positive. He's had a few of those. And Nicky Butt putting in a strong performance as well, along with Thierry Henry, who obviously got the goal. Down at the other end, we've got BTEC. Yeah, a couple of poor performances. I mean, not having natural leaders at the back obviously doesn't really inspire confidence for the rest of the team. So it's Danielson again with the assist, which is very positive. Palermo with the goal, another big positive to take away from BTEC there. Buffon doing a pretty okay job, I guess. Again, I know I get hung up on it on pass, but pass completion for keepers. I mean, why? What kind of instructions does he have? How's he passing the ball? What's he doing with it? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the second half. If BTEC, it does feel a little bit looking at the stats if they're riding their luck a little bit, but we'll see the second half. What's going on? Yeah, still good pressure from Panathinaikos, pretty much where we left off in the first half, and then BTEC having the odd counter. Yeah, he is a strict referee, and that's unfortunate for even Cordoba, who goes off here. They do have a lead to protect, so the question is whether we pull one guy down. Or are they looking for 3 points? We had success with just going one at the back last time. It didn't seem to spoil the party for them against against Chudley last time, and Panathinaikos do only play with one striker, so we go with this and see if BTEC can do what they did and get a goal, even though they were down a player as they did last time out. Does seem as if Panathinaikos are a little bit on top in terms of creating chances, but you can see here they are still creating. They're definitely still creating, just as they did last time out against Chudley, with even with the defender missing. Just a couple of minutes left of the game here. Akahawa with a good chance. Palermo had a chance earlier. But Panathinaikos, it is Thierry Henry with the winning goal right at the death. They just cannot. BTEC cannot catch a break. If it's not disallowed goals, it's red cards, it's other kinds of controversy, it's things that are going on. A little bit of banging your head against a brick wall for poor Ian Edwards, the BTEC manager. It does not seem as if he can catch a break at the moment. 3 red cards in the last 2 games. He'd finally broken the spell of having goals disallowed and having for offside and having penalties denied, etc. So there was no penalties denied in this one, I think, and no goals disallowed for offside. But now we're into the red cards instead. So yeah, tricky, tricky for BTEC and Panathinaikos with an important win for them as they try to get back into the top 6. Let's have a look at how it panned out. Yeah, a lot more in terms of Panathinaikos overall. Not that dominant in the second half, but okay overall in terms of creating chances. Not that many on the on-target percentage, not so high, but I guess 2-1 victory is still okay. Plenty of possession, almost nothing being played down in their own half. If we look at the individual performance from the players, obviously standing tall, being counted, etc., etc. Very, very well done at the back. Good goalkeeping performance, brilliant from the central defenders, from the fullbacks, from the DMCs. Only players that perhaps were letting the side down a little bit were the kind of attacking midfielders, but they are up against a lot of defenders in the same way that BTEC were up against a lot of Panathinaikos DMCs. So we'll see if those stats are reflected on the other side. Assists for Jagatos and Nicky Butt, and 2 goals for Thierry Henry. Obviously, a very good game for him. If you look at BTEC, David Prutton did not enjoy his day in midfield. Buffon gets a 9, so perhaps a little bit generous. Martin Palermo with a goal, and Danielson, as we already mentioned, with the assist. In the middle of the park, not really much to write home about. Whether it was the strength of the players at the back, as I mentioned earlier, that was just missing. I mean, Cordoba obviously went out with that red card. Milevski, not a huge amount of passes, not as effective in the tackling. Maybe just ultimately cost BTEC the result. But strong performance by Panathinaikos, and obviously Chris Mack will be delighted with picking up 2 points very, very late on there. Next up, we've got Bolton Phoenix against Dragon Destroyers. This should be an interesting one. Yeah, I will have a sip of my tea while I'm doing this. Yeah. There we go. Finally, Dragon Destroyers in their lovely blue and yellow away kit that we don't see that often, and Bolton Phoenix with some substantial changes here. Um, yeah. So Ryan's decided to give a bunch of other people a chance. So we've got Casillas in goal, Radoy, Brown, Kale, Deisler, Figu, who hasn't featured that much. Boomsong out on the right hand side as well. I think because Sambrotta's injured now, so he's changing things up a little bit. No space for Figo, and trying with both Fernando Torres and Vincenzo Montella up front in kind of a double striker formation here. So that will be interesting. That's not something we normally see for Bolton, and there's a bunch of players that we also not normally see for Bolton on the pitch tonight. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on against the Dragons. Dragons are in a in their new better functioning formation. From a defensive perspective, I'm not sure how effective it's been, but at least they've been scoring a bunch of goals, and Robbie Keane's obviously back to his best for Dragons, which is a huge bonus for them. Viduka did yet to make any kind of proper impression, but the lineup is the same as last time out. So we'll see if Dragons can replicate that scoring form, or if they will replicate the conceding form, or if the sides will cancel each other out a little bit, and we get less of an exciting game than the 4-4 we had last week with Dragons. Good early chances for both sides, but it's Phoenix who opened the scoring with Montella getting the early goal, putting them 1-0 up on 9 minutes. There's Viduka back in action for Dragons, a bit of a surprise scorer, but it is a bit of a makeshift defense that we've got at Bolton, so maybe that's what's given him some space. Unfortunately, we've got Guardiola injured. I think position-wise, I'll probably swap him with Tomasi and carry on regardless. A lot of good play from Dragons. They are creating chances. Probably the better side in the second half of the first half. Giggs with a lot of good crosses there. He is obviously up against Boomsong, which is probably not the strongest opponent he's faced in his life. Good pass completion, but not a whole lot created for either side in terms of action zones. Dragons got a little bit more possession. Ball pretty much being kicked around the middle of the park. Let's have a look at the Phoenix stats. Radoy not covering himself in glory. Fernando Torres also a little bit struggling. Sebastian Kehl, who does have 20 influence and was set as captain, also not doing brilliantly. Wes Brown's come in and done a pretty good job, and obviously Montella is continuing his attempts to hit the top of the top scoring charts, which he's doing a pretty good job at the moment, I think. It was Deisler who got the assist, and overall a fairly steady performance. I'm not sure if Figo should be playing, really. I do apologize to Ryan if I've done something untoward here. I did try to check. And I'll have another look. I mean, obviously I can't do anything about it now, but I do apologize if another selection error has crept in. I mean, they are increasing in number, unfortunately, but let's see. No, it's true. Figo should be playing. Okay, well, not an error then. I just thought it was my judgment had been clouded. Anyway, Dragons. In terms of their performance, Brosik with the assist, Viduka with a goal, that's probably the two positives to take from that. Motorcar's come in and done a pretty good job after Guardiola got injured. He's at 64, so it probably won't be for long, couple of weeks maximum. Apart from that, not really much to say about the first half performance of the Dragons. 4 shots, 1 on target. Need to get that done a little bit better, and then hopefully they'll be able to convert some of that for them in the second half if they get the shots on target with Casillas in there. He's not been the best shot stopper so far this season when he's when he's played, but we'll see. Rap Douglas is obviously coming in, done a brilliant job for Phoenix. I think Ryan's very happy with him as his keeper at the moment. A few more chances for Bolton here in the second half. It looks as if they are putting a lot more pressure on the Dragons, but Dragons are coming back themselves with a couple of good chances there. Casillas obviously showing that he is still a good keeper. I mean, he's only young, he is a good keeper with a couple of good blocks there and keeping Bolton in it. Let's see, last 15 minutes if either side can find the winning goal. Viduka clean 3 on goal, steadies himself and misses. That's been part of the course for him this season. Appreciate he did get the goal earlier on, but I don't know. He did get the goal earlier on, but struggling to fully impose himself on the game, and it finishes 1-1. A bit more entertaining in the second half in terms of the chances created and in terms of what was happening. So yeah, so a good performance from both sides. Maybe a little bit of a shame we didn't have any more goals in the second half, but entertaining anyways. Distribution of the possession and the play a little bit in Dragons' favor, so they might feel that they could have maybe upset the odds a little bit here and perhaps sneak the win. Let's see the individual performance of the Bolton Phoenix players. I'm not sure how Iker Casillas gets a six with those saves. I mean, I think he was very important for Bolton in this game in terms of rescuing the results. Montella getting man of the match and a 9. Yeah, I mean, he got a goal. I'm not sure what else he really contributed if you're looking at the stats. Boom Song, okay. D. I mean, that's got to be a positive for Ryan that he has got an alternative to Sambrata there. Perhaps not the best alternative, but he can at least do a half decent job. Berong, okay. Figo probably passed it. I don't know, not really shown anything this season, but at least it shows him that he has good alternatives. I'm not sure if it was necessary to perhaps make as many changes, but it's worked out okay. He's lost 2 points, but it's probably not the end of the world considering where Bolton are at the league at the moment, and getting a few games in the legs of some of the lesser used players is obviously valuable as well as we near the end of the season and we might run into suspensions and injuries. Sebastian Deisler, for example, looks as if he's probably not going to be featuring anyway. Let's have a look at the Dragons' performance. Carini getting a 9, so from saving one extra shot, so that's fine. Good performance from them overall. Robbie Keane back to his kind of disappearing ways. You get the feeling that if he'd been on form and converted some of his 3 shots, then Dragons could have perhaps sneaked this one, but it wasn't to be. Wingers up against it a little bit. Ryan Giggs doing an okay job. Simon Davies doing a good enough job, but they're just not. Yeah, that final little killer instinct, that little push. Simon Davies opting to shoot a couple of times, perhaps instead of passing, maybe didn't work out that well for them either. But in the end, good solid performance from most of the players. Guardiola obviously only got that 6 and eventually got injured. Everyone else is pretty much on a 7 or an 8 or even a 9 as a keeper, apart from Robbie Keane, who as mentioned could have done better. Yeah, so next up, games coming thick and fast here with the odd intermission of me pressing the buttons. Astor Athletic at home. Astor with an interesting new lineup, as we'll see shortly, and Midlothian, who are trying to get back to a more sort of like solid, steady performance as we saw them earlier on in the season. I think that's going to be the main priority for them. Let's have a look and see how the squads line up once we get through this little intermission here of having a look at this grey thing. Should put an auto clicker on, maybe something like that. I'll think of something in advance to talk to while I'm doing this, or maybe just cut it out. Maybe I'll cut it out in the edit. Who knows? Astro Athletic. Let's have a look at Alf's new plan C. 2 defenders, 3 DMCs, 3 midfielders, maybe inspired by the recent success in Swindon Devils. They have 3 central midfielders now, don't they? Guillermo and Brugink, the only real goal scorers at the moment, are up front for him. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how how this works out for Alf. It's a long time, I think, since Alf has played without AMCs. He obviously has AMCs in there, but they're just not in the regular AMC positions. I will have to double check the actual positioning of these players again. Apologies for that. I just with the numerous errors made in recent times, I just thought it might be best. No, that looks good. That looks good to go. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how Astor get along. That was obviously, they were very, very hopeful of getting into the top 6, but 3 poor results in a row has put pay to that. Midlothian in their away colours, looking very shiny. Only big surprise really, I mean, Addo keeps his place in the squad, which is perhaps understandable. He had a really good game last time out. The only other big surprise is that Christian Vieri is now the captain instead of Archie Back. So don't know what's been going on behind the scenes over in the Midlothian camp, but obviously something's not quite right. So we'll see how the how the teams fare tonight. We'll kick off the first half and we'll see if Astor can can keep up the pressure. Obviously, with Panathinaikos winning, Chotley playing later, 3 points would be vital for Astor now. But Midlothian are probably not just gonna lay down and roll over for this one. We'll see how it goes as Astor take on Midlothian. Oh, that was a quick injury for Ariel Ortega, I believe. Position is what we're looking at. I mean, they don't really have an obvious choice, but I guess Mpensa can play there sort of relatively well. It's Christian Vieri opening the scoring, so nothing wrong with that. It's Christian Vieri getting his second, obviously tired of playing second fiddle in terms of the captain's armband to Archie back, and desperate to prove his worth to the management team. Um, so good start for Midlothian, horrible start for Asta Athletic, and it goes from bad to worse as they have a player sent off. That's Lee Boyer gone off in 26 minutes. Oh, Shea Given picks up an injury. It's all happening in the in this game in terms of players leaving the field. three people off and two guys come on. Let's see how Hitman deals with the second half if Aston Athletic try to put some pressure on. Will obviously be difficult being down to 10 men, but you never know what they can come up with in the second half. It's Guillermo there, so Hetman having a shocking start to his to his game. Let's have a look at the stats. I mean, Aston Athletic, despite being down to 4, I was complaining a little bit about their tactic or criticizing it a little bit now, but it looks as if it's actually working out okay. Just a poor goalkeeping performance perhaps has conceded 2 of the 4 shots. So yeah, Christian Vieri really making the difference so far. Almost nothing being played down in their end of the pitch, which is perhaps not surprising given the amount of players that are down there and a good amount of possession as well. They're not being rewarded with particularly high ratings, though. I mean, good enough for the strikers. They're obviously having a whale of a time up there, but defensively, it's not looking brilliant. Captain Vogel, the best player, on a 7. A couple of guys, Kalusny and Juliano, both getting 5s. Boyer was on a 5 or was on a 6 maybe and got a 5 for his troubles. Hook and Mill doing okay. I mean, there are things that are working well and there are things that are not really working at all for Asta, but we'll maybe get back to that at the end of the game. In terms of Midlothian, there's not much better, to be honest. Christian Vieri obviously doing the business for them. Impenza with one of the assists, so he's doing okay in his sort of like unusual role there. Magnus Hitman comes in, not doing well. Ortega is obviously proper injured. Shea Given less so, but so he should be back for the playoffs. Ortega could maybe be an issue, and they do already have Steven Gerrard out, so that's obviously a concern for them. A way back in this for Astra, it could be. I mean, they've already pulled one back, so unless Midlothian can kind of close the door on them early on, then we could see a late equalizer from Astra perhaps. Yeah, I mean, they're definitely still in it. Midlothian desperately need that closer. They desperately need that third goal to say this is definitely going to be 3 points in the bag. Is it coming now? Archie Back's doing something. There's a free kick, but it was tipped over. And there is Brugink with the goal for Asta Athletic. The 10 men have equalised. It did look a dangerous proposition when you looked at the stats at half-time. Midlothian obviously can still get that third. Doubt if Asta can get one to actually seal the win, but it would be. But they can. It's Brugink who pops up completely unmarked and actually secures all 3 points for Asta Athletic, despite being down to 3 men. The tactical formation, the tactical changes that Alf has made, paying off dramatically in the second half, and somehow Midlothian failing to do anything in terms of creating chances for that third goal that would have obviously put the game beyond Astra Athletic. You would have thought demoralizing the players, but it just wasn't to be. 9 shots on target by Astra Athletic. Very, very strong performance from them, having all the possession, again playing the 5 at the back. Really, personally, it might have worked early on in the season. I think personally it's really hampering Midlothian's chances. It's reducing the amount of possession that they have in playing with so many defensive players. I could be completely wrong. That's my personal opinion. In terms of stats, perhaps not the greatest performance ever seen. Arnold Brugink, obviously, with the 2 goals. He also got an assist to serve man of the match. Johan Vogel getting a goal as well, but plenty of poor performances as well. Juliano with a 6, Kalusny with a 6, a bunch of guys with 7s. Not a great goalkeeping performance, but a very, very valuable 3 points. And the way they've picked it up, Astra Athletic dominating despite being down to 10 men is really a testament to the effectiveness of the new tactic that the managers come up with. Small tweaks here and there. I mean, effectively we are just moving 2 AMCs back to MC roles. That's pretty much all there is to it. Interesting to see if any other managers are willing to make similar changes or sacrifices in order to get some points. Nothing really changed in terms of the second half for Midlothian. Roberto Carlos did a reasonable job. Hofland as well. Klumpe terrible. Dulash surprisingly poor. Everyone else kind of sort of middle of the road, but yeah. I mean, very, very low creativity. Emil and Pensa with 2 key passes, no one else really chipping in there. Um, Obviously, the Ortega is a big loss going off so early for them, but you would have perhaps hoped and thought that they could have delivered a little bit extra, considering how strong they've actually been in this season so far. By comparison, if you see the number of key passes on the Astor side, it tells a different story. Although there are obviously poor performances in there as well. But yeah, a very interesting game and a very interesting result that definitely keeps it exciting in terms of the playoff spots. Next up, we have Somerset Sloths against Chudley Cannons. Sloths, I think, are making a single change, and perhaps the same for Chudley. We'll see when we get there, but I'm fairly certain that Ndiaye is suspended and Burns comes in and takes his place for Sloss. Emery picked up an injury in the last game for Chudley Cannons and he's been replaced by Van Bommel, who's coming back from suspension. I think they're the 2 only changes, but we can have a look here, of course, at the sides. Paiva, who's been doing a decent job. Kessman is in there. D'Alessandro, Dov, Solari. Yeah, it is Burns that comes in at the back for the suspended Ndiaye. Be interesting to see if Sloss can like not concede 4 goals. It was a little bit of a surprise. I think they conceded so many, especially with such a defensive formation. But it is identical to the formation played by Dragons, so that could obviously have something to do with it. Chudley Cannons unchanged in terms of formation, and as mentioned, it's Mark Van Bommel who comes in at central midfield instead of Emery. Mark Kerr still on that DMC role where he's been very, very good from. Hupia Mendes de Silva at the back. Rocky Jr. returns to the bench. Rossini stays on the bench as well with Amoroso leading the line, and we've got Lee Chun So and Shax who've been really 2 of the young players of the season already coming in there and doing a brilliant job for Chudley. Let's kick this one off and see who runs out winners here. If Sloths can close the gap, or if Chudley will be able to hold on to that playoff spot. Obviously, with both Panathinaikos and Asta winning, the race is really hotting up for 5th and 6th with Valen playing later tonight as well. So yeah, let's see how it goes in this one. Perry Muir is our referee in charge of this one. Early save there for Andre, been thrown into action already. Slots obviously getting 4 goals last time out. Kessman, a stop and start season for Slots, as we spoke about, as it has been for several teams down in the bottom half. A difficult, could have been a penalty there. Difficult season for some of them, and it's Lee Chun So who, I mean, player of the second half of the season, definitely, you would say, in terms of the impact, not only the goals that he scored, but the impact he's had for his team. Incredibly important for Chudley Cannons as they continue to try and and impress under the new manager, and to try and secure that playoff spot that eluded them last season. They are riding their luck a little bit in terms of the distribution of shots. Sloss just slightly more in terms of creating chances. 5 shots, 3 on target. Passing wise, it's also all pretty much in Sloth's favor. We saw the same with Dragons when they played Bolton earlier on, but in terms of converting it, just falling a little bit short. That's perhaps because a lot of the players are playing very, very poorly. Again, low amount of key passes created. D'Alessandro on a 6, Solari on a 6. You feel as if those creative players needed a bit more of an impact. I mean, 10 completed passes. It's not really. That's not where your goals are going to come from then. If your creative players in those roles are not really delivering. Same for Damien Duff, one for him, and a shot that didn't really register anywhere. So yeah, Van Bronckhorst, the best player in the first half. It's got to be a little bit disappointing for Rob, considering how many goals they scored last time out. If you look down the other end, we've got Chudley Cannons. Andre obviously continuing his good form for the club. Esteberia struggling a little bit out on that right hand side. Shax as well, but it's all about Wilfred Baumer and Lee Chun So on the left. So Baumer obviously still a little bit unhappy with something, not entirely sure what, and not doing that brilliantly in terms of pass completion. But he did get the key pass in and obviously set up Lee Chun So for the leading goal for Chudley Cannons. Liverani doing a brilliant job as well. Amoroso a little bit anonymous. Get the feeling that this particular tactic is perhaps not super conducive to brilliant striking performances. But we'll see. That can obviously all be about to change, but they have been relying quite heavily on Lee Chun-so and Carla Shack to get the goals recently, Chudley. We'll see what happens in the second half. Can Sloss find a way back in? It looks as if they're trying early on, definitely. Plenty of action for them. But 15 minutes gone already, and they didn't find that early second half goal. We'll see if that comes back to haunt them, or if they can do something in the last, what have we got left, 20 minutes. Paiva trying his best. Duff trying his best. Oh, and that's a penalty, and it's given, and it's Kessman that's converting it. That's his 10th of the season, just 12 minutes left to play. Can Chudley find the winner here? It's obviously a tricky time for them now. They just got into the top 6. Will they have to leave the top 6 already after such a such a brief visit? It looks as if Sloths are going to be there. It is Solari with the winning goal. Very, very strong comeback from Sloth in that second half. They did dominate the first half slightly in terms of possession and in terms of performance, and they have eventually found the 2 goals in the second half that gives them the win. Much stronger than Chudley overall throughout the game. Were the Sloths. 9 shots on target. That's a really strong conversion rate in terms of having those chances actually hitting the target, and obviously that's a key factor in scoring goals, as we know and have established on many occasions. Not a lot of football being played down in the Sloth end, which is obviously another thing that's helping them out here, and dominating in terms of possession as well. So yeah, really strong Sloth performance, especially the second half. Yep is the only guy who's not really at the races, perhaps because he lost so many of his tackles, and Patasoklu's taking care of all the headers. 8 headers, 8-1. Very strong performance from him. We've got Damien Duff, Simeone doing a good job. The assist are coming from Burns and Patasoklu as well, so I'm not entirely sure how that's come about, but a little bit of a lack of creativity from De Alessandro, which has got to be slightly disappointing from his manager. Giovanni van Bronckhorst, dominant performance in the centre of the park, obviously running away with a 10 there. Good DMC, you can't get too many of them. Solari with a goal, and Kessman, although he didn't have the best performance, managed to convert from the penalty, and obviously I think that flashed up that was his 10th of the season. So yeah, strong Sloss performance. And let's see what happened down at the Chudley end. Yeah, I mean, it just wasn't working on the right hand side for them, unfortunately, today. Estebaria getting a 6, Carla Shax getting a 6, and Amoroso up front. Yeah, just getting a 5. They were the only real areas where it fell down in terms of performance. The rest of the players, Mark Kerr continuing to do very, very well in the DMC role. Van Bommel comes back, gets a 7, a little bit low perhaps, but I mean 18 tackles again. He's doing a solid defensive performance. Only 8-1 though, so maybe not the best from him. Obviously Estebaria having a big defensive night, a lot of defensive duties tonight, which is obviously not his strong point. So yeah, 5-1 tackles out of 14, something for his manager to think about maybe. Not sure why so much of the play was down that side, but Baumer obviously didn't have much to do in terms of tackling. Yeah, we'll see at the end of the show how that affects the table, but I have a feeling that that Scott's not going to be entirely happy with how the table's going to look, but we'll see if Chudley can bounce back, and that obviously brings Sloths closer to the to at least to Chudley, and to that pack that are still pushing for the top 6 with a few games to go, and plenty more points on offer, obviously. As we move on, we look at Hoddesdon Hornets against Valen United. Valen United obviously desperate to try and and find some goals, I think, and Hoddesdon Hornets also desperately trying to find some goals. They have been maybe a little bit better recently, but still very, very erratic in terms of their performances. Sometimes very, very good, as we saw against I think it was Ardsley, wasn't it? And then they had sort of some down to earth moments, as they have had all seasons. Struggling to score, that's been the thing, but that's been the same for Valen United. So this could probably go either way, a 0-0 or both teams really open up. In terms of changes, we've got Joey Johnson coming back in. He kind of replaced Hargreaves, but then Hargreaves replaces so Damien Duff or Damien Dunn or someone that normally plays in that central midfield role. Apart from that, pretty much unchanged. Strong new formation from Hornets that has worked on a couple of occasions, and obviously a narrow formation against Valen. Can occasionally work. We've definitely seen it slightly more successful on average than the wider formation, but the thing with Valen is that they're not playing a narrow formation tonight. They are back to their not blocking 2-7-1 formation. Yeah, I mean the manager's clearly tired of the of the players not scoring. Yeah, so Keane is out, Yeremis is out, Shevchenko is out, um, which is perhaps a surprise to many. A bit of a gamble, I think, from the manager's side. But obviously, they need the results. They're down to fifth now. They are last season's finalists and down to fifth. That's an awkward one to explain back in Sweden, how they keep failing to score, but especially with Shevchenko on the books and with the bids of 30, 40, 50 million being turned down from him from Europe. So it's a brave move to put him on the bench, but we'll see if that works out for Valen. Tony Brown in charge of this one. Huddersfield Hornets kicking this one off. I mean, it's maybe not the source he was hoping for, but at least it's a goal. Roberto Ayala with the opener for Valen United here, putting them 1-0 up. Brave to play with just the two defenders against the three Hoddesdon strikers. That could be a tricky one to contain for the full 90 minutes, but they're obviously doing a pretty good job in the first half so far. I'll probably jinx that now. Let's see. No, yeah, it's all good. It's all good for Valen United, not in terms of being in control of the match or in terms of having the better of it. We saw Chutley having a very similar performance against the Sloths in the first half last time out, and we know how that went in the second half. So we'll see if Hoddesdon can do something similar. Almost no play down in the Hoddesdon defensive area. The overall the sort of middle of the park, that's really where it's all been played. Valen United keeping the ball very, very well to some extent, but not really doing a lot with it. Sean Davis not been brilliant today. In fact, there's a lot of players that haven't been brilliant. Petrov not great, Etu not great, Good Johnson surprisingly not great. Struggling to make a lot of key passes. Obviously, Owen Hargreaves doing his best, and a few passes are finding their way to the strikers, but they are occasionally hitting. They are occasionally hitting the target, but so far, Eleftheropoulos in the Valen United goal has dealt with the three shots that he's had to handle. Batistuta, we all thought when he was back with his hat trick earlier on, but yeah, 4 passes, 4 completed, a couple of nothing, yeah, and a shot not on target. A little bit poor from him. In terms of Valen United, Sorin is already struggling a little bit. We might have to see him being replaced in the second half if he runs into a small injury or fitness issue. Fortunately, he's not had much to do, so I guess that's okay for him. 7s across the board for everyone else. Saviola, the only guy, picking up a 6. Cafu doing okay, an 8. It was Stephen Reed who got the assist, and Eleftheropoulos, not surprisingly, picking up an 8. Yeah, so fairly level first half. Not a huge story, no huge stories to write yet. We'll see the second half if Hoddesdon can convert some of the chances that they've had that have been obviously it's been slightly in their favor in terms of actually having shots, but you do need to get them first of all on target and obviously past Eleftheropoulos, who is a decent keeper. But there it is. I think it was Tristan who set up Etu for that one. So yeah, it's an equalizer for Hoddesdon Hornets. The question is now if they can hold on to that or build on it. It looks as if Valen are still having the possession, but failing to create the chances. Last couple of minutes, Valen still creating the most. Totti with a good chance and failing to convert Cafu into the box. Totti doesn't get it. And it's Etu with the sucker punch right at the death for Hoddesdon Hornets. 90 minutes played. Oh, could there be another chapter in this one? No, it is Eto who secures the win from that AMC role. Perhaps surprisingly that it wasn't any of Tsigalco, Tristan or Batistuta that gets the goals, but Craig will take it. It's 3 points and perhaps not when it was expected. A bunch of offsides obviously involved in this one. 26 free kicks, 18 offsides to in Hoddesdon's favour and 12 for Valen. Yeah, it's difficult to say, really. They have all of the possession, but they play it a little bit, maybe in their own half, a little bit defensively. I'm not entirely sure what the problem is for Valen United in terms of creativity and in terms of getting those goals. And now in this instance, they're not even dominating the game, which is unfortunate for them. Um, no huge outstanding performances, unfortunately, for Craig and the guys, but he'll be happy enough with a bunch of eights for the for some of the key players, for Frey, for Etu, Lucio, Southgate. That's important for them, getting eights, obviously. Sigalko, who's again a strong and important player for them. How will he fare at the end, towards the end of the season? Will he start to get more in amongst the goals? Tristan, who's recently joined, getting an assist, that's never a bad thing, but Batistuta completely out of it, and also fitness-wise, very, very low for him. Yeah, maybe a little bit past it now, unfortunately. Shame for such a big and important player. Valen United, I'm not sure if the 2-7-1 fucking thing was a huge success before. Didn't turn out to be a success tonight either against the narrow formation of Hornets and Bonera. Not really rewarding his manager with a great performance. Stephen Reed getting an assist, probably the best of one of the new guys. Saha not doing well. Cafu doing a solid job. Ayala solid in defense as well. Lefteropoulos could perhaps have done a little bit better, but it's really down to Totti, to Saviola, to Nakata. These players, the attacking players, that are just not delivering for Andreas in that balance side. It's unfortunate to see after how successful they were last season. It's a shame, but that's the Super League. You know, you are up against very, very good players, and any kind of like drop in form or tactics that for whatever RNG reasons stop to work in the game unpredictably. It's difficult. It's difficult, and with only 4 games left, I mean, I won't say they're in danger of dropping out of the playoffs, but with wins for both Panathinaikos and Astra, more and more teams are creeping in there. We've obviously got Artsy to come as well. Yeah, we'll see at the end of the evening how that affects the table. Next up, we've got Hooligans at home to Churchtown. And we have another Marcelo Salas will be set as captain, proceed to the match. I feel like that would be a mistake to set him as captain. Can we not just set Stefan Kloss? No. Surely Marcelo Salas is not his best. Not his best. Influence 15. Young Ronaldinho, or even Sunday Olise. Surely Sunday Olise is a better captain. Anyway, on we go with the clicking. Hools obviously didn't have the best game last time out. Sol Campbell is out now. Crossas, who was signed recently, or sorry, in the summer perhaps even, comes in his place as Hooligans continue to struggle to find consistency, to struggle to find results. We'll see how they get on tonight, obviously. Churchtown have been a little bit hit and miss recently, obviously lost first place to Bolton. They can win it back tonight with a win, obviously, as Bolton only managed a draw, but it'll be interesting to see what the impact it'll have that Ruud van Nistelrooy is back for the visitors. Hooligans, as we mentioned, no huge changes. We've got Crosses coming in for Sol Campbell. Olise and Emerton are in defensive midfield. Adrianinho behind Ronaldinho. Then we've got Salas and Santa Cruz up front. So, I mean, as always, there is goals in the Hooligans side. It's just a question of whether they're going to be forthcoming on the night. Kennedy continues to play despite probably not having done much in the last, I don't know, quite a few games. But we'll see if he has an impact tonight. Churchtown, Duff is back on the right hand side. Obviously, a bit of a selection error there. Should have been Soroczynski in the middle and Duff on the right hand side. Last time out, Soroczynski drops to the bench as Davids comes back. Van Nistelrooy's back in for Romeo, and Duff is back on the right hand side. That's the Churchtown massive lineup, and that's obviously how Kieran is hoping to retake top spot. But let's kick off the game and see how it goes as Churchtown travels to Brazil to take on the Hooligans. It's been a while since we've had that you need 3 goals to get points against Churchtown conversation, but we'll see if they'll get something tonight in terms of a hat trick or at least 3 goals. Ruud van Nistelrooy's back. Montella obviously scoring earlier on, so that's not going to be helpful, is it? 34, that could be for a while as well. Okay. That's unfortunate for them. Ruud van Nistelrooy and Montella are obviously 2 of the favourites for the top scorer position. Now Vieri scored 2 tonight. Montella scored as well. Ruud van Nistelrooy could really do with scoring here in his return, but it's not been plain sailing for Churchtown so far. They've picked up an injury. They've not had a bunch of chances, and Stefan Kloss has so far done an okay job in the Hooligans' goal. Yeah, trying there just before halftime, but nothing given. They've obviously, or nothing coming from that chance. Yeah, dominant in terms of creating chances. It just hasn't it hasn't looked that convincing from my perspective. A lot of play in the middle of the park, 50-50 almost on possession, much more down in the Hooligans half than in the third than in the Churchtown third, of course. But still, sometimes you just don't get that feeling of urgency or that feeling of danger in the first half. But that could all be about to change, obviously, in the second half. Stefan Close keeping Hooligans in it with a 9. Apart from that, okay performances, a bunch of 7s, but they need more creativity. Kennedy, Adrianinho, Ronaldinho, Roque Santa Cruz, Marcelo Salas, they all need to do more for Hooligans. Maybe they're not playing for the manager. I'm not sure what the issue is with them. Again, no key passes at all. One from Malta Samuel, Emerton, who people keep informing the chairman is the best assist maker in the game, or some kind of nonsense. I don't know what the story is behind that, but clearly not in this particular case. In terms of Churchtown, performances have not been that much better. Ruud van Nistelrooy is on an 8. Edgar Davids is on an 8 as well. Good creativity. I'm not sure why Ruud van Nistelrooy's got 3 key passes. He should probably have 3 shots on target instead. Roy Mackay's not done too badly coming in for Henrik Larsson. Duff and Welsh on the flanks. I mean, Duff obviously he's trying, but not really getting anywhere with it. Yeah, we'll see. The shots are kind of coming from everywhere. Mackay's happy to shoot Ferguson as well. We'll see if anything changes in the second half in terms of conversion for Churchtown, or if Hooligans can pick up the pace a little bit and start to create a little bit more by themselves. Olise debut with an early chance. Oh, and there's Taribo West. That has been a problem for Hooligans in the past, getting people sent off. I think he pushed someone in the chest there. That's obviously not going to help them. And it's Arjen Robben taking advantage straight away after that red card. And Ruud van Nistelrooy. So this has really put the Taribo West so influential in that Hooligans defense, apparently, because that has completely turned the game around on its head. Just that one sending off allowed a couple of minutes of madness where Churchtown very professionally, very coolly, very calmly put 2 goals past Hooligans. Obviously, unfortunately for Hooligans, nothing created in the second half, being down to 10 men and conceding those 2 goals didn't help their chances. They did get slightly more possession though, and put it up in the middle of the park a little bit, but that could be down to Churchtown slowing down their performances after going 2 goals up, even scoring a third, but unfortunately having that one disallowed. Crossas comes in and does okay in place of Sol Campbell, who might come back, because now Taribo West is out. He was probably on a 7, but he had won 4 of his tackles, obviously. So yeah, with a strong attacking formation from Churchtown, there's no point in putting on more defenders for Hooligans. They're not looking at getting a draw. That does them nothing at this point of the season. So kept it at 2 defenders, and obviously that's not really worked out for them. However, if you look at it from an attacking perspective, whether it had worked out for them defensively and kept the 0, probably a little bit less of an issue when you see the performance from Adrianinho, Bakayoglu, Salas and Santa Cruz all getting 6s, having 1 shot between them. 4 attacking players, 2 shots between them if you include Ronaldinho. That's the 5 attacking players for the side. They have 2 shots. They have no key passes. They win 1 tackle. Yeah, it's a bit of an unfortunate situation for the Hooligan side. Obviously, the players, I don't know if it's the morale coming towards the end of the season. They think they won't make the playoffs or whatever is influencing them, but clearly not happy. Churchtown, strong performance from them, especially the second half when they finally converted some of the chances. There was an assist for Edgar Davids. And yeah, there's not much to say about it. Welsh and Duff, very professional performance on the wings. Silvestre Tudor didn't have the most to do. Obviously, Edgar Davids in front of them with his 10 attempted tackles and 6 successful. 7 headers, 5-1, also doing a brilliant job sort of stopping anything coming through. Barry Ferguson with a decent enough job in midfield. Not a lot of creativity from him tonight, but still doing the job, holding the fort there. And ultimately, just Arjen Robben, Van Nistelrooy making the difference for Churchtown in terms of converting chances and getting 3 points on the board. And it's Churchtown back to the top of the table tonight. So yeah, happy days over in Dublin, and sad faces down in Brazil, unfortunately, after that performance. Then we have got Swindon Devils versus Ardsley Athletic. If my calculations are correct, this is the last game of the season. The evening rather. I do lose track of this, unfortunately, but it's definitely going to be an exciting one. Swindon Devils obviously found some form. found some form. They had a 3-2 win last time out against Panathinaikos. Arsenal though did have a 3-0 win of their own. So it's two teams who've had good results recently, and yeah, this could be an interesting one. Arsenal in their lovely away kit. Let's have a look at the Swindon Devils formation and the lineup. So a couple of changes there. Mendes comes in for Chris at the central defense, and Cambiaso comes in for Marc-Vivien Foe at DMC. Apart from that, everything stays the same. Simone Inzaghi partners Kluivert up front. Zidane is in again. He's the captain. We'll see how it works out for him. He's obviously been under a lot of criticism this season from his manager, from outside the manager's circle, from everywhere really. But a couple of good performances from him recently. RC Celtic, if you look at their formation, a couple of changes for them as well. Patrick Vieira comes in, obviously. Recoba goes out, and Claudio Lopez comes in that AMC, the left AMC role, hoping to bring some creativity and get results for Ardsley. They are not 100% safe in terms of the playoffs. Obviously, I don't think any of the kind of third, maybe third, Midlothian kind of okay if they're the ones still in third, I think. But anyway, fifth, sixth, maybe even up to fourth could still be an issue, but we'll see obviously the table at the end of the evening with I think there will be 12 points left to play this season if I'm not much mistaken. We'll see what it looks like after this game anyway. Arsenal takes on Swindon at the Devil's Lair. Oh, good early start from RC Celtic, but they didn't put that chance away. Good chance for them again there, but Swindon coming back. Elmander as well, being starting to be a creative force for that Swindon side. A little bit surprising perhaps, considering his reputation. But we've seen similar from Kennedy, while Paiva, who's not the best statted player in the league or attribute player in the league, obviously had a couple of goals recently from Sloth. So occasionally you can get players that aren't just 20 monsters that come in and deliver. Right, what else can we say about that? It's a difficult one to talk about. I mean, Arsenal had a bunch of chances. They didn't convert any of them, and Swindon had none. Yeah, possession in Arsenal's favour. I'm not sure what's wrong with the Swindon formation. They haven't changed anything since the last couple of games where they've done so well. So just a bit of a lackluster performance. Maybe they've been out celebrating their 2 wins or something like that. But it's been a bit of an odd one for them. No particularly terrible performances either. They're just not. I don't know. They're just not really creating anything. Not a single key pass is never a good look. Obviously, I don't think Esteban Cambiaso, Marc-Vivien Foe, does that make as much of a difference? I'm not entirely sure. Sebastian Mendes picks up a yellow, but he's getting an 8, so it's a solid performance from him. And not really a lot from Kluivert and Inzaghi, but they can explode onto the scene and obviously score goals when it matters. At least Patrick Kluivert can. I'm not too sure about Inzaghi, but yeah, we'll see in the second half. Kind of a low pass completion rate though, which is not going to be too pleasing for the manager, especially considering the form that they're in at the moment. To put in a first half like that is not it's not great. RC Celtic, a little bit of the same for them really. I mean, the only difference really for them is that they've had like more shots on target, or they've had more shots and a few more on target of course as well. Claudio Lopez comes in for Recoba, he gets a 6. Donati, I mean, it's kind of hit and miss with these Arsenal players at the moment. You would think that they would be a little bit more desperate in order to secure that kind of final that playoff spot that they were so far away from last season and for such a long period. This season looks as if they were definitely going to secure. So yeah, it's pretty much all down to, if it continues like this, it'll all be down to Richard Wright to see if he can continue to keep Arsenal at bay and Swindon can sucker punch them, or if Arsenal will find a way through. I mean, hopefully we'll get goals. That'll be. Not too bothered about which way. Maybe Zidane with a stroke of genius or something like that will do something. It's Elmander of all people, but it's cancelled out immediately by Morientes. Elmander of all people, obviously popping up with the opener for Swindon Devils, but an immediate equaliser by Morientes. Good reply from RC Celtic there. Now they go looking for the second. They obviously still have to be very, very careful with those sucker punches from Swindon Devils. Simone Inzaghi could come out of nowhere and pinch a winner for them. They are still piling on the pressure. Arsenal just failing to convert, unfortunately for them. They had so many 1-0 victories early on this season. They do need to be a little bit better in terms of scoring. Can they do it right at the end? No, they cannot. It's another game without defeat for Swindon Devils. Obviously, they would have perhaps liked all 3 points, but they take one at home to a recently improved Arsenal side, so not too bad. And shooting practice for the Arsenal players, only 6 out of 16 shots hitting the target. That is unfortunate. Swindon Devils with a 50%, a much better conversion rate, getting 50% of their shots on target, and a slightly undeserved, perhaps, 1-1 result. But I think the Swindon Devil manager will definitely take a point against a current top 6 side, or so he should, even though the ultimate objective of ninth is probably looking as if it's slipping a little bit. Let's have a look at the performances. Richard Wright, man of the match, although he didn't have that much to do, but obviously 6 shots on target and yeah, 16 in total, but he still gets the man of the match, and he gets a 9. Yeah, you can't really say anything about that, can you, about that Swindon performance? The players are doing well, they're performing in their positions. Unfortunately for them, they just struggled a little bit to get the balls up to the strikers. Montero, such a key player for them again, lots of tackles for him. Not as many key ones as you normally see, but Mendes was doing them. Ashley Cole really finding his feet in that wing-back role as well. Zidane, Seedorf, Elmander being the better of the three. Zidane, Seedorf, and Elmander. That triangle, you wouldn't expect him to be the standout player there, but solid midfield performances as well. Just a little bit more from the strikers, and Swindon could have perhaps had this one. RC Celtic, they've got to have a look at the strikers. They're going to have a look at Nikiforenko, especially, and yeah, 4 shots, none of them on target. Claudio Lopez as well, a complete waste of space in this game. He has a few tackles, a few passes, none of them are key. 4 headers, none of them won. Nikiforenko doesn't win a single header either, and although he did have a reasonable sort of amount of passes, the completion rate is very, very low. Ibrahim Said doing an okay job, actually outshining his fellow DMC Patrick Vieira a little bit in this game. Milito doing well. He's been a good signing, a little bit maybe gone under the radar. I think a lot of people were after him or interested in him, but because of the long injury break that he has at the beginning of the game, he maybe slipped from people's view a little bit. But he's come in and he's done a good job next to Koufré, who very, very surprisingly gets a 6, which is very, very unusual for him this season. So a 1-1 at the Devil's Lair. And that, oh dear, and that obviously concludes that. Right, gosh. So yeah, quick recap of the results this evening. Obviously a very, very exciting game. Aston Athletic, who were down to 10 men, beating Midlothian surprisingly 3-2 after Patrick Vieira had scored those 2 early goals. Bolton Phoenix and Dragon Destroyers played out a 1-1 draw. Bolton Phoenix playing a reserve side and Dragon Destroyers playing a strong side, but unfortunately for them, Robbie Keane doesn't turn up, and when he doesn't turn up, as it was last season, they struggle. Hornets with a late winner against Valen United, who tried a new formation and unfortunately for them failed to have any success with the effing 2-7-1. Hooligans continue to struggle. Of course, it was the league leaders they were up against, but Churchtown, yeah, they are back on form with this one. You can see how important it is for them to have Ruud van Nistelrooy back if they're going to be challenging for the title this year. He's definitely going to be a key success factor for them. Panathinaikos back to winning ways. Good for them, as Aston picked up points as well, and they're back into 6th with that 2-1 win over BTEC, who couldn't buy luck. They can't find luck, they can't get luck, they can't be handed luck, they can't buy it, they can't do anything. There's nothing lucky about BTEC Troopers at the moment. Disallowed goals, a plethora of red cards. It's uphill for the much tried and tested Ian Edwards, who has obviously been a great manager in the league. He has a great squad at his disposal. It's just that the CM gods have decided that this kid is gonna get it, and that's how it is. Sloths 2-1 winners over Chutley. Deserved, I would say. Chutley struggling down the right hand side for some reasoning in this game, and obviously dropping down to 6th after a quick visit to the playoff spots. Arsenal stay there, they're in 4th. Swindon Devil remain in 14th after that 1-1 draw. Churchtown Phoenix, Churchtown Massive, the first team to get the elusive Q next to their name, playoff spot secured for them. put your feet up, Kieran, relax. 4 games left. You don't really need to do anything unless you desperately want to hold on to first or second spot, which you probably do to reduce the number of playoff games you have to go through. Ryan, despite picking up only a draw tonight, still extends the distance or the gap between third, because Midlothian and Ardsley and Valen all failed to win. It was Panathinaikos who crept back into the top 6 with that win against BTEC. Astra hot on their heels on 31, Chudley on 31, Sloths, I mean, 5 points away with 12 points to play for. It's it's getting close, and Valen only on 34. I mean, both Ardsley 37 is perhaps a stretch, but both Valen and Panathinaikos are in real danger of being overtaken by Asta, by Chudley. At a stretch, maybe Sloss. I mean, that's a stretch, but there's clearly 4 teams in it for those 2 final playoff places, with Slots an outsider, with RC Celtic potentially dropping down if they don't pick up results. Down at the bottom, we have BTEC, who again were unfortunate, and we have Swindon Devils, who only picked up a point, but BTEC lost, so they are only 3 points behind them. It's definitely still possible. I think Hooligans 6 points ahead. It's again with 12 left to play. It's going to be tricky, but 12th is definitely within reach of Swindon. So congratulations to Churchtown with the queue. Let's see if this will work. There's a bit of a risk if we save first. And then we do this. Okay, it didn't crash. That's good. Vincenzo Montella, way out in front in terms of the average rating. Patrick Vieira not far behind. A couple of surprising names up here. Vogel maybe. Leandro Coufret, didn't really expect to see him. And Richard Wright, Swindon keeper, in the top of the average rating charts. In terms of goals, Vincenzo Montella obviously scored tonight. Vieri got 2 tonight. Shevchenko still on 12. Ruud van Nistelrooy on 12. This race is hotting up. Whether someone will reach the 21 of last season that we saw Rossini get is perhaps remains to be seen. But plenty of games still to play. Assists is Barry Ferguson, is Nedved, Brosek is up there as well. A bunch of names that you would expect. Hidetoshi Nakata with 6 is maybe a little bit of a surprise, but a decent player nonetheless. Let's have a look at the form quickly. It's Bolton, it's Sloths, it's Churchtown. Swindon are up there, but look at the erratic form of all the sides in the league. It's really only, I mean, it was a draw for Bolton this time out, but Valen United. That is a surprise. Last season's league winners and championship finalists down at the bottom. Midlothian down at the bottom. That is 2 surprising names to see down there with 1 win between them in the last 10 games. That is really a surprise to see that. And if we're looking at it from a home form perspective, Swindon Devils will hope they don't have many of those. And in terms of away form, it's Hooligans who are really struggling there. Nothing really spectacular to see. In terms of red cards, I mean BTEC up there with 4, Astra with 4 as well. Yellows, it's Astra playing the rough boys here in the league, leading. There was Panathinaikos last season, I think, were leading the yellow cards. I can't remember for sure, but anyway, Astra are up there now. Fixtures, if we have a look at that, last but not least, RC Celtic at home to Bolton Phoenix. That's a really big clash. RC Celtic not in the best form at the moment, but they did create a bunch of chances against Swindon. If they can continue with that, with Bolton, who although undoubtedly will play their strongest side in this one, who knows how that one will finish. BTEC Troopers with a chance to pick up 3 points against Hooligans, who are definitely not in form. They will have their 2 big defenders back, obviously. Chudley Cannons, again, a chance for them to get back into winning ways. They play Hoddesdon at home. Hoddesdon, of course, were there too. Good performance from them tonight, but Chudley could bounce back here. Then we've got Churchtown at home to Sloths. This is going to be very important for Sloths. If they're going to have any chance of reaching the playoffs, that is a must-win for them. The same for Dragons. It's an outside chance for them, but they have to beat Astra at home. They are competitors for those spots. So if they beat Astra, then obviously Dragons will move closer to that, and then it depends on how many points the other sides pick up. Midlothian in 3rd. We'll play Panathinaikos in 6th. Panathinaikos back to winning ways tonight. Midlothian still struggling for form. That could be a huge one for Panathinaikos if they win this. If they lose the way the other games are, there is a big chance that they're going to drop out of that. And obviously Valen United desperately looking for points or goals or anything as well to turn their season around and see if they can repeat their final performance from last season. They play Swindon Devils in another tough game. Okay, guys, that's us for this evening. I hope you enjoyed the show. There's a couple of really good games in there and a couple of okay games. Overall, thoroughly enjoyed bringing this show to you. As mentioned before, as you can see from the from how the game is going, this is the end of the road for this version of the Super League. Feel free to spend the week or at least a couple of days discussing what you would like to do with it from next season. Yeah, the floor is yours. I'm open to suggestions of any kind. It could be recreated with the same players, but just from day one. It can be creating new squads. It can be keeping your best players, letting you keep 5 and the club name, or I'm completely open to suggestions and happy enough to look into how we can reset it. So yeah, apologies again for the inconvenience and all the clicking. I probably won't bother editing it out. You'll get it as it is. It's only an hour and 10 minutes. I think we can probably manage that. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. Packs will be out shortly, and as always, thank you very much for playing along.